Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Garrett Horner. Today's edition, we got to start talking about Dauphin&e. It's coming up, 2024 Dauphin&e comes up on Sunday. So we got to bring it up here on Beyond the Coverage because, of course, I'm going to cover it for the butterfly effect. We have Primoz Roglic and Remco Evenepoel coming together. It's two of the big fours that are coming together here at Criterium de Dauphin&e. So what do we need to see here out of these two riders, and what do we need to see out of maybe some of the second page riders? We have a really good starting list here at Dauphin&e for sure. We have, of course, Sep Kuss for VISMA Lease Bike showing up. What can the American rider do? He said after winning the Tour of Spain last year that he wants to come in and he wants to start winning races. Jonas Vingegaard's not here for VISMA Lease Bike. He's still training. He's still trying to recover from that Stage 4 Basque Country crash. Primoz Roglic, Remco Evenepoel went down in that same Stage 4 crash at the Basque Country, but of course had less damaging body effects than we're talking about Jonas Vingegaard, and certainly less than Jay Vine, who's just now starting to get back on his bike. Hopefully Jay Vine, my best wishes here from Beyond the Coverage and the Butterfly Effect to Jay Vine to heal up quickly because he is back on his bike, some of the news have said. But let's focus a little bit here on Dauphin&e because along with those three riders, we got some other riders coming in here like Ayuso. Ayuso won that Basque Country. Now, he won the Basque Country after those three riders crashed on Stage 4. Wasn't wearing the race leader's jersey until the very last stage and crossing the finish line of the last stage where he put the race leader's yellow jersey on just before everything was all said and done. But he won the Basque Country. Now he's starting here for UAE Team Emirates, and we saw Tadej Pogacar win the Giro, so he's not here. So Ayuso has the green light to go for overall win here at Dauphin&e if he has the form. We have a fabulous 34-kilometer time trial that's coming up on Stage 4 here at Dauphin&e, and it's going to be a bit of a hilly one. Not super flat, so it's not necessarily ideal for Ayuso, but Ayuso can climb. He has power. He can put on a fabulous time trial, especially if we take Primoz Roglic and Remco Evenepoel and we say, hey, that Stage 4 crash at the Basque Country is still affecting those two riders. They're not 100%. Maybe they're riding 90%, maybe 95%. I'll show you a picture here of Roglic. He looks incredibly thin. This picture was posted up this last week. So we know for sure in terms of diet, Primoz Roglic is ready to go. He's not a few extra kilos heavy, Philippa York. If you remember that from Criterium, if you remember that, of course, from Paris-Nice, where Philippa York said he was a few kilos too heavy. Okay, he's clearly not a few kilos too heavy, but has he had the training? Has he had the training dialed in to come in here to Dauphin&e? And has he had that training that will handle the racing coming from the week here at the Dauphin&e, where they only have 2.5 weeks to get ready for the Tour de France? Now, there's one other rider. That's 4 riders. There's certainly going to be 1 or 2 more. And the next rider has to be Carlos Rodriguez from Ineos. Carlos Rodriguez been solid. Gone top 5 at the Tour de France. And now he's coming in here to Dauphin&e. He can shine here at the Dauphin&e and then go into the Tour de France with really good form. Theo Gegenhardt, Lidl Trek, 6th rider. How can Theo Gegenhardt go? If I take you back to the Basque Country, I can show you him riding the front on the last and final stage there of the Basque Country while he was trying to secure the overall classification for Skilmos, his teammate at Lidl Trek. Now, they came up short that day. Lidl Trek, tactically, they fell apart a little bit on the last climb on Stage 6, the last Category 1 climb. There was still another Category 3 after that, and we know that Ayuso went on to win that stage, like I already told you. But here, Theo Gegenhardt has the green light, of course, to go for the win. That gives you 6 quality riders from 6 different teams. Should be a magnificent Dauphin&e, but there's one more rider I want to add in there. Tiberi. Remember Tiberi? Well, he won the young leader's jersey at the Giro d'Italia. That was just a week ago. So Tiberi could come in here at Dauphin&e. That's adding a 7th rider on a 7th team. Man, Richard Plug, the manager and director there at VISMA Lease Bike, thank you for trading Primoz Roglic. It has made my whole 2024 season here when I'm talking about how this next race is going to develop here at Dauphin&e and, of course, at the Tour de France, where you traded Primoz Roglic over to Bora Hansgrohe and then left it where Jonas Vingegaard now has crashed, so there's no backup rider for VISMA Lease Bike unless, of course, it's the American Sep Kuss. Now, the American has said he wants to come in, he wants to start winning. Let's say we're looking here at the Dauphin&e and it was 2023. I'd have told you guys when the Dauphin&e started on Beyond the Coverage and the Butterfly Effect, I'd have said, hey, it's not the be-all, end-all before the Tour de France. you could come into the Dauphin, you could be riding really soft, really easy, use it just for training, because you normally still had about 3.5 weeks to get ready for the Tour de France. That's a ton of time. That's a solid 2 weeks worth of training, a little bit of rest after Dauphin even, and then a solid 2 weeks of training, and then a few days rest before you start the Tour de France. But 2024 is a different year. Richard Bloom traded Primoz Roglic, so everything's changed. But on top of that, the Tour de France has been shortened a little bit, the rest period between Dauphin and Tour de France, where it used to be 3.5 weeks this year, because the Tour de France has been brought in a little bit earlier, starting the 29th of June, instead of getting into the 3rd, 4th, or 5th of July, like it would normally do. Because of the Olympics this year, though, they've had to shorten it up. That means your form has to be a little bit sharper here at Dauphin. I'm not saying you have to win Dauphin, but it needs to be a little bit sharper than what I've said in past years on the butterfly effect, where I've definitely throughout my time riding Filato remember doing Dauphin and riding it just for training. Remember doing it, of course, one year with Astana when Yanni Brajkovic won the general classification, my teammate that year. We were all sharp, we were all ready to go, and we were all getting ready for the Tour de France afterwards, and I was in better shape. You don't lose shape after the Dauphin before the Tour de France, but you can still gain shape. So when you're watching here at Dauphin, remember, if somebody is to win the Tour de France, or win Dauphin, excuse me, not the Tour de France, but win Dauphin, then you know that he is at least that good. If someone comes 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or even 10th here at the Dauphin and is riding in the group back there, kind of like we saw at the Giro where you had 6, 7 guys back there chasing Tadej Pogacar. If you're in that group and you're hanging on the back there, you'll be okay. You still have a solid week of training and a little rest. Solid week, little rest, start the Tour de France. But you need to be at least getting sharper in terms of your fitness. So, Primoz Roglic, I told you, he looks sharp, but I don't know his training. We go over to Remco Evenepoel. I pulled up his Strava. I don't know if this is the holy Bible grail here of bike racing training when I'm looking at the Strava records here for Remco Evenepoel, because when I look back, he has about 3 weeks that are sitting at about 450, one at 530, 550, whatever it was. He had a shorter week, and then his first week, after first coming back from the Basque Country, I think it was about 150 miles, a little bit softer week. Then he had a couple medium weeks at 450, and like I said, one at 500. It's not the biggest weeks of training. It's not. But remember, he had the crash at the Basque Country, so you're building, you're building, you're building. I would have liked to seen a few more miles put on there. But again, maybe there is some more miles that he hasn't put on Strava. So maybe he's not telling everybody what he's doing. Maybe his training was specifically done in each of his zone 2, zone 3, zone 5, whatever you want to call it. I've never trained with zones, but I know how to train. But when I look there at Remco Evenepoel, his training seems to be a little bit on the softer side than I personally would like. But like I said, as long as his sensations have been fantastic, as long as he can come and start Dauphin, make it through the Dauphin really solid and not get fatigued from the Dauphin, he can still get in that solid week of training, maybe even we can call it 8, 9, 10 days of training, depending on how you would come out of the Dauphin. But he needs to be in the picture. Now, I would expect Primoz Roglic and Remco Evenepoel highlight the Dauphin, but as I just got done explaining, they don't have to. What I expect is Primoz Roglic to come into the Dauphin and win the Dauphin. Well, why do I expect that? Well, we look at years past, not last year at the Dauphin, where we saw Jonas Vingegaard dominate the Dauphin, but the year before, Primoz Roglic winning the Dauphin, he won the overall classification. That year was the coming out party, of course, 2 years ago, where Jonas Vingegaard won the last mountain stage, then later went into the Tour de France to win his first Tour de France, and then backed that up with a second Tour de France. So we know if you come into the Dauphin with good form, it's not going to drop before the Tour de France, but as I said, it can still come up. Now, when we start looking at the individual time trial at 34 kilometers, it's a lengthy time trial. We know Primoz Roglic is good at that distance. He is the Olympic time trial, individual time trial champion. We know Remco Evenepoel is a time trial champion because he's wearing the rainbow bands across his chest. So we know he's good. We know Ayuso is good. So when we look at the first 4 days, the first one looks like a sprint. The next 2 mountain stages, 2 and 3, they have summit finishes. They're category 3 climbs. One of the stages, I believe it's stage 2, had a category 2 coming up and then into a category 3 that'll summit. So 2 and 3 summits. So they have to be sharp right away in this first week if they want to win the overall classification at Dauphin. Primoz Roglic, Remco Evenepoel, that is. They have to be really sharp because those 2 guys are really going to get looked after when we're talking about the other competition guys, and they should be getting attacked. Now, both teams have come with their ace lieutenant. Primoz Roglic has Vlasov next to him, and he has Jai Hindley. Who you want to pick as his #1 ace lieutenant, I'll leave it up to you guys. I can flip it either way. If Jai Hindley's 100% on form, I could take Jai Hindley as his first lieutenant, but Vlasov every bit, I believe, and in some senses, I think more consistent than Jai Hindley, but certainly Jai Hindley is not a Giro d'Italia winner because he's some scrub out there that can't ride the bike. So he's got 2 ace climbing lieutenants next to him. We go over there to Remco Evenepoel. We start seeing the same kind of scenario where he has his solid guys. He has Mikel Landa and Ilan van Wilder there that backing him up. Ian van Wilder's not quite that first sharp lieutenant, but Ian van Wilder has shown marvelous form looking after Remco Evenepoel deep into the mountain stages. And when I take you back to the Vuelta a España that Remco Evenepoel won, Ilan van Wilder was fabulous that year and was basically as close to being the first solid lieutenant like we saw like a Rafa Majka guy. Not quite on that same level, but almost there. So we know Remco Evenepoel with Mikel Landa, if he's on form, and Ilan van Wilder, he's got 2 guys solidly back him up. Both teams are going to highlight for sure here at the Dauphiné if they're going to come out of here with the victory. Bora Hansgrohe, Soudal Quickstep are going to highlight. The next team, so when we start talking about Sep, when we start looking at Sep Kuss, the American rider, right now his chance is here to shine. He doesn't have Jonas Vingegaard in the race. We all understand he's crashed out, he's still recovered. But right now, if Sep was to say, win the Dauphiné, let's say he goes into the individual time trial on stage 4, he pulls out some marvelous time trial there, puts himself in the race leaders running there after the individual time trial. Doesn't have to win, but he's in the running. Now we start getting into the last stages when we're talking about 6, 7, and 8. 6 and 7 both finish with a HC category climb. Those are going to be monster climbs. And of course, 8's going to finish with a category 1 climb. So you have 3 big mountain stages at the end of 8 days of racing. If Sep Kuss was to stay close on the individual time trial on stage 4, let's say the American rider comes into that stage 6, 7, or 8. Could even be on stage 8. Primoz Roglic, Remco Evenepoel are watching each other. They're not 100% sharp, but they're very good. They're watching each other, keep an eye on each other. They don't have quite the support that brings them deep into the climb, so they don't have a teammate on the front setting pace. All of a sudden, we look at just those 6, 7 riders that I highlighted at the beginning of this video. They start attacking the 2 favorites in the race, Remco Evenepoel, Primoz Roglic, and then those 2 riders start playing some tactical game. Let's say Sep Kuss rides away and wins Dauphiné. Well, if he was to win Dauphiné, now this race starts setting some huge importance for the American rider Sep Kuss, because no one's going to know exactly, except for the power meter that is of Jonas Vingegaard before the Tour de France starts proper, exactly where he's at. So if that power meter is not reading off the chart for Jonas Vingegaard, all of a sudden Sep Kuss right here at the Dauphiné, if he was to win here and win by some kind of impressive, something that we saw out of the last 2 Dauphinés from Jumbo-Visma's team, Primoz Roglic and Jonas Vingegaard, where Jonas Vingegaard dropped everyone and soloed, where Primoz Roglic, along with Jonas Vingegaard, dropped everyone and soloed. If Sep Kuss was to pull something like that here at the Dauphiné, this race could have a huge magnitude effect when Sep Kuss is starting the Tour de France, because no one's going to know exactly where Jonas Vingegaard is. So we have to pay attention to Sunday's race, because Dauphiné could be big for the American Sep Kuss. And I could take you back when we start looking back at Tadej Pogacar's team, UAE Team Emirates. Ayuso, if he was to win here, it's not going to change anyone's opinion. We all know Tadej Pogacar is going into Tour de France as the outright leader. So we know early in that first week, Ayuso, Adam Yates, Soler, Tim Wellens, all their big favorites, Sivakov, that are going to start here at Dauphiné and go to the Tour de France. No matter what happens over there at UAE Team Emirates, no matter how much they dominate, Tadej Pogacar is the leader there at UAE Team Emirates. But Sep Kuss, VISMA Lease bike, may be the leader if he was to win here at Dauphiné. So lots of reasons to tune in. Now let's go a little bit deeper into some of the tactics that we might see here from some of the sprinters, because there's not a ton of sprinters here starting Dauphiné, but there is one, Mads Pedersen. So when we look at stage 1, of course, we see Lidl Trek's going to want to control stage 1 or have some kind of help and control in the peloton, because Mads Pedersen's here, so they're going to want a sprint. The next stage, the only other stage I see that could come into effect for Mads Pedersen winning a stage and Lidl Trek being able to take out 1 or 2 stage victories here at Dauphiné, has to be stage 5. Normally I'd call stage 5 a stage for the breakaway riders, But when you got a climber and a sprinter like Mads Pedersen, okay, not a climber, let's call him a little hill climber. He can get over some solid little sticks from time to time. So Mads Pedersen, if he's on form, and normally he would be starting to come back on form with the Tour de France starting, especially if you watch Johnny Milan from Lidl-Trek winning all those 3 stages at the Giro d'Italia, you got to believe Mads Pedersen is wanting to put his stamp of approval back there with all the managers and the DSs there at Lidl-Trek that, hey, I can win bike races too. Don't forget about me just because Johnny Milan, the Italian rider, won 3 stages there at the Giro. So we start thinking stage 1, stage 5. Personally, I think those are stages for Lidl-Trek to really control those stages and try to bring them down to give some kind of opportunity for Mads Pedersen to take 1, if not 2 stage victories here at Dauphin. Okay, when we start looking a little bit further and we start looking at other riders, there's not the whole depth of riders that I see when we go further down. There's David Gaudu, of course, from FDJ. He's mentioned, of course, that he wants the podium at the Tour de France. He's gone solid in the Tour de France before, and last season he was in the top 10. So a rider like David Gaudu is someone to pay attention to here at Dauphin to see if he's recovered. He's had some accidents and crashes throughout the beginning part of the 2024 season. That's why he hasn't been as super sharp. Remember, he's gone podium there at Paris-Nice last season when he went there right in between, second on the podium between Pogacar and Jonas Vingegaard in last year's Paris-Nice. But this year he's had more crashes, more setbacks in his training and his racing. So now start paying attention to David Gaudu from the FDJ team and whether or not if he can get a little bit sharper here at Dauphin so he's ready for the Tour de France. And of course, coming from a French team, FDJ, you know they want to go well in the Tour de France because Marc Madiot, if I remind you guys, Arnaud Démare, their sprinter, he got rid of Arnaud Démare, and I got to believe it had something to do here with David Gaudu, where their chemistry between the sprinter and the climber was not anything close to beautiful. And so we know there's a little bit of pressure on David Gaudu to go good here at Dauphin and then get himself ready for the Tour de France. This next week of racing here at Dauphin should tell us who's certainly sharp, and of course, remember to pay attention to the riders. Even though if we see Remco Evenepoel and Primož Roglič not winning Dauphin, as long as they're up there in the picture, they have just enough time after the Dauphin to sharpen up that form, get ready for the Tour de France. And remember, when we're talking about that 7, 8, 9 days of training, solid training between Dauphin and the Tour de France, once the Tour de France starts proper, you still have a few stages in the Tour de France to sharpen up your skills. But if Tadej Pogacar is coming in there 100%, and we look at the first stages of the Tour de France being a little hillier than what we're normally used to, you got to believe you got to come into the first week of the Tour de France good, which means we need to see Primož Roglič and Remco Evenepoel at least with the front guys here for this next 8-day stages here at Dauphin. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll bring you some more coverage before Dauphin starts proper, and then it's the butterfly effect all over again for Dauphin 2024. See you guys real soon.